Plastic oceans. Um, an Earth Day official fact that may surprise you is that by the year 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. Think about that. I've become determined to inform about the current crisis on our oceans because it means a great deal to me. Since a young age, I've been fascinated with the ocean and wanted to witness it myself and research with it in my career. All the extraordinary creatures and diversity. However, it's currently being damaged by pollution and no one is taking the needed measures to stop it. Um, you are present today in hopes that I can inform you about the current issues happening and hopefully convince you to help fight the problem. Plastic waste in the ocean is contributing towards climate change and the destruction of the ocean, and big corporations are largely responsible for the waste and should be forced away from single-use plastics and to new alternatives. Firstly, to take any action, everyone needs to understand why this problem relates to us, especially people who are not even close to the ocean, and how it affects our lives. Plastic is overly present in our daily lives. Shampoo bottles, cups, toys, milk jugs, your toothbrush, all are plastic items that are constantly not disposed of properly. Much of our plastic waste ends up into rivers and the oceans. It gets dumped in there purposely or it happens by accident. According to Future Agenda, around 275 million tons of plastic waste is generated each year across the world. Between 4.8 to 12.7 million tons gets either washed or purposely dumped into the ocean. The issue of pollution damaging our oceans affects and applies to all of us and everyone, though many do not realize it. Regardless of the distance, our ocean supplies many benefits to everyone. From the National Ocean Service, the ocean produces over 50% of the world's oxygen, and the United States economy produces $282 billion in goods and services based off of ocean jobs in the country. Ocean dependent businesses employ almost 3 million people in the United States, and the ocean provides ingredients for foods such as peanut butter and soy milk that you wouldn't think about other than fish, and many medicinal product ingredients that help fight cancer, heart disease, and arthritis come from the ocean. For example, many people take fish oil pills. Fish oil comes from the ocean. If changes are not made, everyone worldwide will suffer the loss of the items above and more from the ocean. And things that I didn't mention that are kind of obvious is like recreational activities, swimming, and there's embargoes that get used for the ocean for transportation. Just so many things. So to understand what needs to be changed, we got to fully understand the damage that is being done and where it is originating. So where and who is causing the plastic pollution problem? Plastic pollution in the ocean is most prominent on populated city coastlines and in waste zones that form in the middle of the ocean. And what I mean by a waste zone is for example, the Pacific dump in the ocean. It can be seen from outer space. It's a giant area in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where trash has accumulated from people going out there to dump it, because when you get further enough away from continents and such, it's not owned by anyone. It doesn't belong to a single country, so therefore there's no regulations on it. There's no control, and anyone can do whatever they want out there. So trash frequently gets dumped there, and there's tidals, just ocean currents and such that control what the flow of plastics, and a lot of them lead to that area, and it kind of gets suctioned in and they get centered there and they're stuck there. So some examples of some plastic in our ocean. There's 1,140,222 pieces of food wrappers and containers like styrofoam takeout boxes, forks, aluminum foil. There's 1,065,171 plastic beverage bottles. So your pop cans, plastic water bottles, cups, and then 1,119,902 plastic sacks, which are these. And that's what your turtles and whales frequently end up eating. So, and again, it mentions, this infographic does, it's from Plastic Oceans Trust, mentions that in 2050 there'll be more plastic than fish in the ocean. And then something that I'll get into a second says chances are that if you're eating seafood, you're also eating plastic, which is true. I'll explain it later. The new food chain, microplastics to fish to us. So I've described what the plastic is, and all this waste either comes from coastal factories and cities dumping it, or from rivers, rains, and runoffs from inland. According to earthday.org, 32% of the 178 million tons of plastic packaging produced annually flows into our oceans via rivers and rainwater. And for the last decade, however, many U.S. companies have been made aware and are advocating change in regards to the environment and pollution. I've recently watched a video from politicians and even presidents who have talked about how 10 years ago they were saying how climate change and global warming was nothing to worry about, it wasn't real. And now it shows videos of them from today and recent years, and they're all talking about how it is real and it's important and we need to change. So the effects of it have been showing and people are taking notice. So an example of a company who's recently changed is Starbucks. They've decided to eliminate plastic straws. Should be gone by 2020. They're replacing it with a reusable sipping lid. It's plastic, but it's reusable, so it won't be thrown away like the straws are, hopefully. And it should, and I'm sure it has already, reduced drastically the plastic straw waste. The same cannot be said, however, for our country as a whole and other countries. Best Magazine reports that, according to new research, up to 95% of plastic polluting the world's oceans pours in from just 10 rivers, and 8 of those top 10 are in Asia. And a Daily Mail article further explains that 88 to 95% of the entire world's plastic load comes from these top 10 rivers because of mismanagement of waste. And this waste contribution can be attributed to 2 main factors: unregulated production and disposal of plastics, and the recyclable plastics. So, an example that explains why plastic is so easily mismanaged and the recyclables get dumped is demonstrated with this chart. This demonstrates all the different kinds of plastics. You have your clear, your colored. I don't have a milk jug on here, but that would be clouded and it gets different. And then all your plastics are different kinds. There's 2, 1, your sacks, netting, colored plastic. It's all different and it cannot be put into the same thing. So it's very difficult to recycle, and a lot of the times people don't want to go through the effort. And it's just really difficult. So a lot of places, plastic doesn't have any regulations on its production and amount and product consumption when it should. And by product consumption, I mean how many people go out, buy groceries, they get 30, 40 plastic sacks, they use them for about 15 minutes and they throw them away. That's what unregulated consumption is. And then regulations, packaging. In 2016, according to earthday.org, world plastics totaled around 335 million tons. And the single-use lifestyle is what's really killing with the plastic packaging. Again, from earthday.org, half of that 335 million tons was single-use products. So that's your packaging that you wrap off every time you open up a drink, the plastic drink water bottles, like this. That's single-use packaging that gets thrown away. There's no way to recycle it. Landfills are also an example of mismanagement as well. You drive by through a city, you see the tall piles of trash. You can't keep things from blowing away, and then sometimes chemicals like BPAs sink down through the seals and get into the water table, and there's nothing that can stop. Something that I've personally observed about plastic packaging and just overproducing and not regulations is PR packaging that influencers get online. They get boxes of products, and there's just so much. There's boxes that are inside of boxes and plastic, and just so many containers that it's extremely excessive. And going along with the Starbucks thing, many of these influencers are speaking out against all the excess packaging. So plastic recycling and waste are not properly managed and regulated. And something that a lot of people are not aware of is that recyclable plastics are being processed and sold and shipped out of the country. From National Geographic, they report, after shipping goods to the West Coast, China has empty ships and cargoes to fill on the return trip. So what happened was they offered rock bottom prices to the West Coast, so United States, to for companies to sell their plastic trash. The U.S. quickly became one of China's largest customers. So what happened was the U.S. and plastic recycling companies were selling their plastic waste to China, and China takes it back to their country. And it's not just China; there's other countries, but that's where most of these Asian countries get all their waste. Is countries like the United States and Australia ship their waste there. So by 2016, half of the world's plastic trash intended for recycling was traded internationally with China, and China got 45% of all the half that went to international countries. So the imported plastic that China gets adds on 12% to their total generated each year, according to a study published in Science Advances. In 2016, that translated to 8.1 million additional tons on top of the 67 million tons of domestic trash generated in China, which is the trash that they generate, like normal trash within the country, not counting what they get imported. So other countries that are found importing plastics to Asia have been Japan, the United Kingdom, and Australia, along with us. So China has recently shut off their imports, so we can't ship their trash to them anymore. But in response, hundreds of small operation plastic buyers in China have moved to other countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Vietnam, Thailand. So the waste is still going over there. So the harm and effects of plastic, it breaks down, but not completely. So it's permanent, it's there forever, and it causes harm. You can see this. It affects whales, even land animals, the squirrels eating it, the cows eating it. So when you get your opposers arguing that they live in the middle of the country, so their plastic waste can't affect, well, it does. The cows and the squirrels are eating it too. And then, so your animals consume it, which explains this, how we consume it. And then microplastics is when so it goes from macro, which is what's in your face exfoliant particles, to micro, which is breaks down by light, and then it gets into the fish and we eat it. It's been found in plastic water bottles that have been filtered, so it's really everywhere and you can't get rid of it. It never fully biodegrades, according to Green Planet. So, a solution to this issue is product change. The companies need to change their things to be biodegradable, and then us as consumers have to be conscious of where we recycle, and companies in the United States and government need to take responsibility for their waste and stop shipping it.